AFoCO represents the relationships that need to be in place to have real impact and to prove that impact, regardless of whether you're a private investor, a philanthropic donor, a bilateral donor, or an individual. You want to know that the contributions that you're making are changing lives, improving the environment, and AFoCO has those relationships in place to achieve that. My name is Keyvan Izadi, and I support Artha Networks with climate and nature-based solutions. I think we first need to understand what nature-based solutions are. It's sometimes we get lost in the phrasing and jargon, but really what we're talking about is a solution whereby human well-being and nature services are enhanced, ideally enhanced symbiotically. And nature-based solutions can range from a number of different types of activities. They can be forestry related, agriculture related. We have a lot of great experiences all around the world where these solutions are working very, very effectively to meet multiple objectives. What I mean by multiple objectives is quite literally, let's take trees for example. So trees sequester carbon, right? They use carbon to grow. And as they grow, they hold a lot of carbon. Trees also provide lots of other services. Well, they provide timber, they provide fuel wood, they provide lots of things for humans. But also in the natural context, they also regulate water flow, right? So there is less flooding downstream. They also provide habitat for animals, right? Biodiversity. There's rich relationships between different kinds of plants. These are all essential, and we sometimes get lost on the purpose for things. So we sometimes don't understand exactly things like biodiversity, the rich tapestry of biodiversity. What we're realizing increasingly is that we're pulling threads from this rich tapestry and ignoring the impacts. Some people shock us with the extent of biodiversity loss, but at the end of the day, what do we do about it? Well, nature-based solutions offer us an opportunity to do something about it while we address human well-being and also nature and nature services. So humans, frankly, are dynamic. Human needs are infinitely complex. Nature and its services are dynamic also. The intersection between humans and nature, unbelievably complex. And the more and more our needs change, and usually our needs are accelerating, we're demanding more and more from the planet, the more complicated it becomes for the planet to address those needs. So nature-based solutions offer that kind of sustainable solution, where we end up in a situation where we say, let's pay attention to what is happening in nature or the particular ecosystem or the landscape. And let's look at how humans interact with that landscape, and let's make those interactions much more sustainable and symbiotic. Nature-based solutions often rely on markets, environmental markets. And what we've seen over the last several years is a correction in this market. So for example, carbon credits or carbon markets are one example where the world started to see some issues with the market, and there's been a correction, which means quite literally that there's less investment flowing to support those kinds of projects. So what ends up happening is that a lot of capital, a lot of money, stays on the sidelines waiting for more surety of investment. And that surety is critically important. So capital is being deployed for more engineered solutions, more predictable solutions. Nature-based solutions are trying to address, as well as environmental needs, changing human needs, remember. So we end up in a situation where this shortfall right now, some estimates estimated at $2.7 trillion by 2030. That's significant. But again, remember that I said a lot of capital is waiting on the sidelines. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity to align purpose, align objectives. And I mean that alignment, not just alignment with people, but also alignment with institutions. We focus a lot on private investment. These are family offices, philanthropic organizations that represent trillions of dollars in assets. They're deploying their money in one direction. They have interest here, but there isn't enough predictability sometimes as they see it, particularly when the market is still trying to find its footing. So that's in essence some of the structural challenges that have created this inadequacy in funding. Through this partnership between AFoCO and Artha Networks, what we're really focusing on is showcasing the real impacts that AFoCO is having with its member countries and implementing partners in achieving the impacts that private investors truly care about. We want to be able to demonstrate it through the use of technologies and best practices on the ground. We want to verify for private investors that these impacts are actually occurring, that every project that they look at, I should say every mature project that they look at AFoCO, has the same standards applied to it. So they have absolute confidence that there's consistency in the quality and impacts that are being reported by the organization. This has often been missing in nature-based solutions around the world. The beauty of AFoCO is 17 member countries. That's a tremendous pipeline of impacts, potential impacts. And what we want to do is demonstrate those as actual realized impacts. AFoCO represents the relationships that need to be in place to have real impact and to prove that impact, regardless of whether you're a private investor, a philanthropic donor, a bilateral donor, or an individual. You want to know that the contributions that you're making are changing lives, improving the environment. And AFoCO has those relationships in place to achieve that.